All right, guys, welcome to another training video. My name is Amar Buller, and today we're going to be talking about how to actually decrease the amount of money that's being burnt in your online business to acquire sales calls. And essentially, before you think about increasing call volume and bringing more reps in and, just turning all these knobs on to increase the revenue, the details and the actual growth within your business are within the finer details between the smaller things that are in regards to how you book your calls, cost per booking, cost per acquisition, managing KPIs and expectations with your sales team, and making sure that you have a overall clean sales process that allows you to get the most out of every call that's being booked and closed upon. So looking at cost per booking, cost per acquisition is probably the first thing as you're just starting off ramping up your sales team or your online business. You want to make sure that you're profitable in terms of how much you're spending to acquire the demonstration or the call that's booked into your calendar or your sales team's calendar. And then most importantly, you need to actually understand what the actual cost per acquisition will be, so you understand what type of unit economics you're playing with in terms of profitability. And I'm coming from experience when I talk about this process, is because I used to actually spend a lot of money on paid traffic, different types of levers, before I actually figured out what my CPA and my CPB were, before I tried to spend more money on, getting calls booked in. So understanding your sales process and being confident with how you actually convert your clients and having a pretty good, defined, journey for your sales representatives is really important. But more than anything, in order to actually just make sure that you're getting the most out of, let's say you're booking around 115 calls average per month for your business, before you think about actually turning the switch on to go and booking more client or more appointments in your calendar, I think it's a lot more intrinsic to actually take a look at whether or not you are actually getting the most out of the 115 calls that are being booked into your agency or your online business. Because the reality is there are businesses that are booking a lot less calls compared to you, and they're generating a lot more revenue per month, just based off of them having a completely refined process and also a feedback loop to ensure that they aren't missing out on any revenue or missing out on any opportunities because of bad practice, bad management, and overall not having a good roadmap and expectations laid out to convert these deals. The second thing that I would really look at doing before you actually try to book more calls in and spending money is to actually make sure that you are documenting every single aspect of your journey, as whether you are a leading sales manager, founder, or you have, a sales team that's currently taking calls. In order for you to even know what's going on or whether or not a rep or your team is ready to take on more calls, is for you to actually be in the trenches and completely audit their performance on a day-to-day basis. There's absolutely no way to actually make improvements in your company if you're not actually tracking, what it is that they're currently doing on a day-to-day basis, which is taking sales calls, how they're reporting their logs, how they're actually handling objections, and most importantly, whether or not they are making an effort to maximize on the data or the leads that they're being given. A lot of founders or agency owners, online business owners that I've worked with in the past, will always look to increasing call volume, but what they're essentially doing is, before they've even ramped up a sales rep or gotten, one of their, team leaders to actually produce at an exceptional level, and they've tracked that data, they don't know what they're modeling for. So what happens is, when you have a bunch of people taking calls, there are no expectations being set. There are no actual projections laid out for the team, and there's nobody leading by example and showing the team members exactly how to convert those calls over at the highest level. So when you're considering to taking on more reps or even onboarding a rep, it is really important to also make sure that you aren't opening up their calendar immediately. Because what can happen is, if you're bringing on a new rep and you expect them to close, like, let's say, more of an all-star that's been in your company for around 4 months or 3 months, and they're converting at a high rate, they're not given enough time to adapt, learn, and refine because you have opened up their calendar completely, and now you have paralyzed them, and now they don't have enough room to take feedback and also remodel and even learn how to actually be a part of the entire sales process and your team and organization in general. So a couple of things to actually just consider is that you need to understand what your margins look like and your profitability with the traffic, or whether it's inbound or outbound, and how you're booking your calls. You need to understand that it needs to be profitable, and you need to be able to be in a position where you can actually control that lever and increase call volume contingent based on how you've documented your journey as a closer yourself and for your entire sales team, because you need to be leading by example. And if you're simply just booking more calls, you'd be in a position where you're going to be decreasing your margins, you're going to be spending more money, and you're going to be wasting a lot of good opportunities just because you're not being patient and you're not giving your team the actual time to learn, adapt, and grow from their mistakes. And this is a very common, issue that I see with a lot of, new entrepreneurs and online business owners, is that they are fast to building a sales team and hiring talent, but they don't know that a lot of these individuals need time to adapt, learn, and also master their sales process. And it's better off that you give them marginal calls to actually learn, get up to KPI and be ramped up before you give them access to a full calendar, right? So these are a lot of the things that I have seen that has been a pretty big issue with, again, even in my agency, that has costed me a lot of money, that has been just down the drain completely, just because I never tracked my sales calls. I never managed, expectations correctly. And most importantly, I was never consistent with training my team to make sure that even if they were to get, let's say, 10, 15, 20 calls a month as a part-time closer, that they had the highest chance of at least getting, at least a 20 to 30% close rate, right, on all the calls that they're really taking. So with that being said, of course, these are a couple of things that you need to look out for before you think about increasing your call volume. Make sure you're tracking every single sales call. And as the founder of your business, you need to make sure that every single call that is being taken in your company is at standard operating procedure. That doesn't mean that it needs to be directly a copy and paste process of what you're doing, but it needs to be around the lines of what the entire sales process is and how to obviously create the best conversion ratio. So when it does come time to actually increase call volume, you are not just spending a lot of money to get calls booked on the calendar and then having less conversions because your team is overwhelmed. They don't have good actual, leadership and training around the entire process. And now you're not just running in the same place. So before you choose to spend more money on booking more calls for your team, make sure that you're tracking everything on a spreadsheet, you're tracking expectations and KPIs overall, and you are setting the expectations for your team to actually be the best as they could be on every single call. And if they're not, you're refining them until they are ready to take on more calls. This should help you save a lot of money. And before you even choose to spend more money on advertising, outbound, or hiring more setters for your business, make sure that you're getting the highest conversion ratio out of the 50 to 100 calls you're booking right now. Because, I'd like to share a little bit of my personal experience, is that one of the things that got me to actually go from, doing around $10,000 to $12,000 per month in my own agency, and what was a difference between what I did when I was actually able to close around $25,000 to $30,000 in my company, was I had the same amount of booked calls. The only thing that changed was my sales process and how I tracked my overall progression through the sales call, and how I was able to make sure that I had the best optimal offer and practices in place before I chose to spend more money on booking calls. Because I knew myself, even though I was the founder of my company, I was making money, that I wanted to create more people like myself and clone my process. And if I wanted to be profitable and I wanted to trust somebody else to come into my business and do the same, I need to make sure that all of my SOPs, my entire customer journey, and my sales process and experience has been boiled down to a T before I start getting other people to, jump into, my process and work for me at my company as well. So that is a little bit about, how to actually just make sure you're saving a little bit more money, a lot of money. Again, it's a use case by use case. But if you found this valuable, I'll continue to make more videos, of course. And if you guys have any questions or anything else that you guys feel like I should be uncovering, I'll be more than happy to do that, regarding building sales teams, closing more deals, hiring talent, etc. And of course, if you guys ever need, more value, if you guys feel like you guys want more help on a one-on-one basis, there's actually a link in this YouTube channel and also on our Facebook group as well too, to actually just join our community and book a call with me to see whether or not, it'd be a good fit for me to actually work with you guys and help you scale up your business. So if you found this valuable, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.